Coming to you live from the palatial studios of PBJ Productions. Welcome to Patrick and BJ Talk Real Estate, where we talk about life, the universe, and everything as it relates to real estate. Hey everybody, it's BJ.
And Patrick.
And we're back talking all things real estate. Just want to thank all of our subscribers. Thank you all that are joining us and subscribing. We are putting out at least 3 episodes every week. And so if you haven't, you want to subscribe and hit your notification bell so you don't miss anything that we're putting out there. And we also want to hear from you. So if you've got, we did an episode where we answered some questions from some of our viewers. And so if you've got questions, comments about what we're talking about or something you think that you'd like to see us talk about, please put that in the comments as well, or reach out to us directly for that. And that would be, we'd love to answer those questions too.
That was a lot of fun because I don't always think about when every week we think about what are we going to talk about this week, and some of them are obvious, what's in the news and something that's relevant to
Sure.
today, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes we don't always think about what's on people's minds.
Yeah.
So we want to really know that. And I think it's a fun way we can answer some of these questions in a video format.
Sure. So today we want to respond to something that CTV just came out with in the news here with regards to mortgages.
This is a response video. This is how we're going to start this. Do you know the story of the War of the Worlds program?
I don't know. I mean, I've heard it. The War of the Worlds, the original.
Yeah.
But I have not. I do not know
the
story.
It was read over the radio. And
Right.
people thought it was real.
Oh, they thought it was real.
Invaded.
Okay.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So quite a while ago.
Yeah, well, just so you know, this was the era, and I mentioned this because my daughter and I listened to those old radio shows on Spotify. So we still listen to, when I'm driving to school, we listen to the Lone Ranger and stuff. I was talking to her, or we're listening to Have Gun Will Travel. And we were talking about, I was telling her about, the people would actually come and sit at the radio, and this would be where we watch our computer or TV or phone, they would come to the radio and everybody would
gather around,
together,
right?
Yeah, to listen to whatever it was or whatever program.
But this sounded like a real news alert broadcast
Right.
kind of thing, right?
Right.
Emergency. So, yeah, I'm putting this into context. CTV News ran an interview with a mortgage broker, and the broker was saying on why mortgage troubles are just starting.
Okay.
See, so to me, it's it's the end of the mortgage real estate as we know it.
Right.
So I
So,
start off
in
with
other
War of
words,
the Worlds.
unless-
don't believe everything.
Yeah, unless
that you
there's
see.
germs to kill the aliens, they're going to take over the world. That's what happened in War of the Worlds.
Oh, right.
The germs
Yeah.
killed all the aliens.
I was thinking about the more Tom Cruise runs in a movie, the more money they make in a movie.
I've never seen the movie. I still go back to the original radio episodes and the book.
Yeah. I'm going to go off of a couple statements he made, right? And I'm
Okay.
going to give context to it.
Yeah.
And then, so my whole idea is it's not as bad as what they might be making out to be. Okay? So the mortgage broker statement in the program said there's 2.2 million mortgages set to renew in 2024 and 2025.
Okay.
So you think, what would be the most popular fixed rate mortgages? Because we're not talking about variable rate mortgages, because they're going to be constantly adjusting.
Yeah.
Right? And if you're in a fixed variable, I don't know exactly how that works, but they're going to be coming up at some kind of renewal too, or they're going to run, I'll talk more about this, negative amortization. We'll explain that later, if you don't know what it is. So in the first quarter, I'm rewinding 4 and 5 years ago. 5 years ago, 2019, when everything dropped right down, we did across Canada, there was about 500,000 sales across Canada.
Okay.
During COVID, once it let us out, we were doing 700, 800,000 sales per quarter.
Okay.
So this will add up to 2.2 million sales.
Okay.
In a year or less than a year, right?
Yeah.
So not all of those people, stats that we mentioned before. I'm going to use this stat for Victoria. except for the highlight one, which was back in October. 30% of the sales were all cash. So,
Yeah.
but the average is about 20% of the sales are all cash. So
Okay.
we can only use about 80% of the 2.2 million, or well, maybe the 2.2 million renewals are not the same. You add 20%
Okay.
to add to like how many of the total sales
Sure.
are.
Okay.
And assuming the most popular fixed rate or fixed term is somewhere between 3 and 5 years.
Okay. Yeah.
So they would be
Makes sense.
coming up for renewals. That's,
Sure.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
the most popular.
Sure.
So that's what we're expecting. But then that doesn't count how many people have equity moving into those properties. Well, go back to Vancouver's average mortgage amount was 660,000 just in like 2022, 2021.
Okay.
It's not the full amount of what the house is. There's all these articles saying, you know, this is how much money you need to make for a family for the average mortgage or the average house price in Vancouver,
Right.
which is absolutely ridiculous because people come in with equity. They get on the property ladder. They buy a house over here. They pay it down over so many years. After 10 years or 7 years, they move to the next one, move their equity over.
Yeah.
You know, all of that, right? So it's completely ignorant to say that like that average house price is maxed out with the minimum down payment on there.
Right.
So I'll say that out loud. But I'll bring this around here. CTV News also had a chart. I'll put it up so you can see it. Or it was a poll. It was a poll to ask Canadians, what is the top issue which the House of Commons was taking in for that poll.
Okay.
So I'll start at the top. 35% of people, their most concern was the rising cost of housing, or rising living cost, not cost of housing.
Okay.
Rising cost of housing.
Yeah.
13%, 13.8% was healthcare. And then 13.1% was housing. Okay, let's remember that number, 13% for housing. And then the next question, the poll was concern over next mortgage renewal. I'll start at the bottom. 1% of people said they're not sure. 11% said somewhat, but not concerned.
Yeah.
You know, so maybe they can tighten their belts or maybe not have discretionary spending. Maybe
Sure.
they're not going to go on a vacation, right? Maybe they'll wait before buying a car.
Right.
24% were concerned. Okay? So 24% are concerned, 28% somewhat concerned, 36% not concerned. So, okay, fine. Now, CBC News reported, I'm going to go back to that 13% number that people were concerned about housing, which, using that number, CBC News about 2 months ago had a news program said 1 in 5 mortgages at major banks are negatively amortizing.
Okay.
So go back to the negative amortization. So what that means is they could be on a fixed variable, and if the interest rate goes down, they're paying less interest, but they're paying more of their principal off,
yeah.
but they're making the same payment.
Right.
$2,000 a month is just always going to be
Sure.
that, or it's 5,000, whatever the number
Yeah.
is, right? So now the interest rate has gone up so high
Sure.
that they're only paying interest.
Only paying interest, yeah.
And anything that's above and beyond that is getting tacked onto the principal. So this is making their 25-year mortgage 26 years, 27 years,
Sure.
whatever the case may be,
Yeah.
right? So those are the ones that are most concerned, because those fixed variables are going to come out for renewal as well.
Yep.
And going back to even if it's 2020 and the house prices are crazy, people were paying extra for houses. We're still looking at people that put half the equity down.
Sure.
They might be doubling the size of their mortgage.
Right.
Like for me, example, like it would not be a big stretch to double the size of my mortgage because I have so much equity in the house.
Right.
And I bought a long time ago.
Yeah.
So
And I think the thing too is, we want to be clear that it's an issue for some people. They have concerns and legitimate
100%.
concerns about their situation and what the mortgage renewal looks like and those kind of things. I think what we're talking about is trying to actually balance the headline.
well, we still
so that
the 25% of people who are concerned, right? Like it's not going to be. Yes, thank you. We're talking about having a balance to that news reporting.
Yeah.
But yeah, the genuine concern over 25%.
And that's still a significant number. But I think what happens is when we see sometimes headlines like that without the context, it's like the old days they used to talk about the run at the bank. That's more of a U.S. thing, I think. But I think about
What's that?
well, I think about because we just watched it for my daughter and I. It's one of our Christmas traditions is we watch It's a Wonderful Life, and there's a run at the bank, and George Bailey and his new wife, they basically saved the credit union by using their the money that came in from their wedding. So instead of going on their vacation or their honeymoon,
Yeah.
they used that money to put up enough money to keep the bank open. And things like that and runs at the bank and those things, they're born out of panic and out of not understanding what's really going on. In whether it's that situation, whether it's this situation where somebody reads a headline and they're like, oh, we're in trouble, we're in this, we're in that. Where do we sit? How will I ever buy a home? What am I ever going to do? How are my kids ever going to buy a home? So I think this is where we want to bring some balance to that conversation, and we're not denying that there are issues that need to be addressed that people are going to have to work through and figure out. But I think what we're saying is it's not the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world, and the process doesn't happen overnight. Like we would have to see delinquency rates. It's not just how much debt people are carrying.
Yeah.
Delinquency rates on mortgages, which CMHC is not reporting, like an avalanche of delinquent mortgage payers.
Yeah.
So, and even that process, like the bank does not want to own your real estate. They kind of own it now, but they don't want to deal with it because you're in there, you're maintaining it, and you're paying.
Yeah. And I can just to interrupt before you go on from there, because Patrick and I have both dealt with foreclosures.
We work for the banks,
where
the lawyers,
we work for the banks and the lawyers, and I can tell you they do not want to own real estate.
Oh, and before I even get to the meeting, it's like a year in the process.
Yep.
A property manager has to go in there. They have to give the owner so many chances.
Yeah.
And they're not my clients. They're the bank's clients. I'm working for the bank. They would avoid the bank. I'm not trying to give tips. I'm just saying it's a process to get to that. And it's not all of a sudden a windfall of
right. And the point of which is, it's not, the bank is not interested in owning real estate.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you're a customer paying the interest. And during COVID, I don't know if they're still doing this, but if you missed a payment, they would just tack it on to the end.
Right on the end.
So there's ways. Oh, and Dave was here from Olympic Mortgages, and he was talking, if you're facing a renewal period and you might not be ready for the higher interest rate, go out there and be proactive and talk to your mortgage broker. There's the mortgage charter that came out from the federal government. It's not law. It's sort of like encouraging the big banks to give leniency to mortgage holders. So I wanted to share those things with and if people are facing that.
Yeah, and you know what? If that's you and you need some help, some insight, something like that, maybe you don't want to put it in the comments. You can, or you can just direct message us and we'll get it out to Dave and get you in touch with him or connect you with him, because he's a fount of information on these things. Obviously, that's what he does at Olympic Mortgages, but we're happy to help if you want to reach out to us for that.
Yeah, I think we always encourage our clients to be fully informed, to make good decisions, so they can make logically sound decisions based on data and information.
Yeah.
And if you talk to David or a trusted mortgage broker and it still isn't working out, well, maybe then at that point maybe you need to sell your house. I think that's the last case scenario before getting into the foreclosure.
Right.
But before you have to face being foreclosed on, it's going to cost you even, maybe that's a topic for another day. But just to like say it very quickly, the cost of foreclosure is way more expensive than the cost of like paying for a realtor and moving.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just to leave that out there.
Sure.
Hopefully you find this video helpful. I hope it, yeah, exactly like BJ says, I hope this balances out a little bit of what you see on mainstream media. Just so you're not, it's partially true.
Yeah.
Definitely 2.2 million people are
Sure.
Renewing.
Yeah.
But that's not the whole story, right? And that's not everybody's situation either.
Yeah. Context.
Context.
We want to understand these things in context so that we can make informed decisions.
That's right. It's not just what you heard on the radio.
Yeah,
we're being invaded by aliens.
Right? It's not just reactionary. So this is not the last hurrah. How's that?
No, not at all.
For those of you that don't know, that goes back to the old Batman TV show from the 60s, I think.
You have to do it in the voice, too.
Is this the last hurrah? So thank you all for joining us. If you haven't, please take a minute, subscribe. We're putting out more and more content every week. Want to make sure that you don't miss it and you stay informed about what's going on in the real estate world, Greater Victoria area, on the island, in Canada, obviously, as well. We talk about some national things. And if you want to find out about the market here, you want to move here maybe, or maybe you're wanting to buy or sell something here, feel free to reach out. We're happy to help you with that as well. And I think that's it, right?
That's it.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Thanks for watching.
See ya.
Catch you in the next video.